Hi, Bill Parliament here from RadicalMarketingSolutions.com, and this is episode 10 of the X's and O's of SEO. And what I have for you today is the Google Panda Update Survival Guide. This is a guide to help you navigate through Google's most recent algorithm updates, dubbed Google Panda. Now, back in March of 2011, when Google first launched these updates, I wrote a series of posts explaining exactly what Google Panda was all about, and I'll post links to those articles below this video within the video transcription so you can go back at another time and review those articles. But today what I'm going to share with you is what I've seen as far as changes since Google Panda updates have gone through, because there's actually been updates to the updates. So I'm going to share with you what's changed and then how you can adapt to make sure that your website stays on top of the search engines. So first, let me just give you a little bit of background on Google Panda Update. Google Panda was named after an engineer who works for Google, and his name is Navneet Panda, and he's done some awesome work for Google and has come up with a really fantastic way to help them rank websites better in the search results pages. What Google has actually done is they've used human quality reviewers to go through the internet and review websites. These human reviewers have come back with a list of criteria, information and criteria that they like to see on websites. Nice looking websites, easy to navigate, great content, and they've also come back with criteria that they did not like to see in websites. So what Google has done is they've actually been able to take the information that the human reviewers have given them and run that through a software program. So now they're able to scale the rankings. They're able to now say, okay, these websites include the good stuff, so we need to raise them up. And these websites have the stuff that aren't so good. Our human reviewers really didn't like this kind of stuff on websites, so we're going to push this down. So now they're really able to provide their users with excellent search results. Now understand, anytime an algorithm update goes through, this is a good thing, because Google wants to show their users excellent search results. So what it's doing is it's eliminating a lot of the bad websites out there. So if you're a business owner that's adding great content to your website, then this is going to be good for you, because you're going to see your website raised up in the search engine. So let me share with you some of the changes that I've seen, and then we'll go into what you need to do to maintain your rankings or increase your rankings. So the first thing that I've noticed with Google is they are showing more bigger brand websites and authority sites. So that's really what's changed, and this has been going on for a little bit now. So these are going to be keywords that, frankly, some people aren't never going to be able to rank for. I mean, we're talking about like Best Buys and Walmarts and things like that. So it's going to be really difficult to compete for these types of keywords, because the big brands and the authority sites are going to take up the top few positions on Google. So how do you adapt to this? Well, it always goes back to better keyword research. You need to pick the battles you can win. So you need to find those keywords that have great search volume and those keywords that have a little bit of competition, so that you can go ahead and compete for those keywords. So don't think, oh, I'll never get into it because the big brands and the authority sites are there taking up all the spaces. You just need to refine your keyword research and make sure that your site is optimized around keywords that has great search volume and has lower competition. So the next thing that's really changed is backlinks. And if you've been reading or watching any of these videos, you know how important I say backlinks are. Backlinks are still really important, but what's happened is there's not such a great weight on backlinks. In fact, I've seen sites that are ranking higher than other sites that have a lot more links. So what Google's really done is kind of devalued what I call spammy links. Links from link directories and these other kinds of sites that have very little authority, that aren't great sites, that the only reason these people are building links is to get links, and it's not to bring traffic to your site. So while backlinks are still really important, they're not the only game in town anymore. And this is how you'll need to adapt to this, is you're going to need to improve your user engagement, meaning how your users interact with your website. And there's a couple of different criteria that you need to pay attention here. First, Google is really looking at the metrics as far as how people interact on your website. How long are they staying on your website? Do they come to your website and click the back button or click a new URL and leave your site? That tells Google that your site was not relevant to that search term that your user typed in. So you may get bumped down a little bit for that. How long are people spending on your site when they get there? How many pages are they looking at? Click-through rates. Google is able to measure click-through rates. So let's say you're selling red widgets and you're on the first page for red widgets, and your website shows up on the first page of Google for that term 100 times. How many times do users click on your website? If they show that on the first page 100 times and no one's clicking on it, they may bump you down because there could be another site below you. Even though they're lower in the rankings, people are clicking on those sites and they may move that up. So these are all things that you need to pay attention to. This is why you need to monitor what's going on with your website. You need to monitor and measure using Google Analytics and make sure that your website is running optimally so that people are spending more time looking at pages and interacting with your site. The other way that you need to adapt to this is you need to make your site easier to share content in social circles. There's definitely some indication to show that Google is paying attention to social media messages. So how often is your content shared on Facebook? How many times is your website liked on Facebook? Are people tweeting your content? Are they retweeting your content? Are they sharing your content on LinkedIn? So you need to make sure that you have this ability for your users to share your content throughout your website, through their social circles, actually. The other change that's really happened is content, and this is a big one. Good quality content just is not enough anymore. So I'm seeing changes in thin websites, mini websites, websites with duplicate content, and auto-generated content websites, meaning auto blogs, things like that, or a website that somebody might set up with 1 or 2 pages to target one keyword. Those things aren't going to work anymore. You need to really work and build out your website with quality content. So the way that you're going to adapt to this is you're going to build bigger, more quality content into your websites. In the old days, you could build a bunch of mini sites and kind of just leave them out there. But what I'm going to suggest to you is you kind of scale back and focus on 2 or 3 niches, or if you're a business owner and you have the one site, that's great because it's going to be easier to put great quality content on those sites. If you have 100 mini sites, it's going to be very difficult to put enough content on those sites to keep your website ranking in the search engine. So better content, more diverse. One thing that the human reviewers definitely seem to not like is a lot of ads above the fold on your website, kind of smushing in your content. So if you have a lot of ads on your website, especially above the fold, you probably want to get rid of those and put them down lower on your site. And you'll also want to update the way your website looks. In the old days, you could have an old, crusty, ugly-looking website, but human reviewers don't like those kinds of websites. They want to see updated websites. So if you have a website that was built in the early 90s, mid-90s, you might want to consider updating that to make it look more current. The other thing that you have to pay attention to is Google is now applying all these changes site-wide. So what does that mean? So let's say this is your home page, and this is a page on your website, this is a page, and these 3 are pages. So Google will look at your home page and say, yeah, this content's great, this content's great, this content's great, but I don't like this content. This is thin content that doesn't really help me out. This could be something like your contact page, or just some kind of filler content that you have on your website. And because Google doesn't like these 3 websites, that can actually cause your main website to go down. So you really need to optimize every page on your website and make sure that those pages have great content. So basically what this means is the rising tide raises all ships. So meaning the better content you have on each of your pages, the better your overall site will do. So this is basically the changes that have occurred and how to adapt. Again, if you have any questions, comments, or if you'd like to see any other topics covered in the X's and O's of SEO, feel free to leave them in the comment box below. I'd love to hear from you. Let me know what's going through your minds, and I'll be happy to help you out with this. And again, this is Bill Parliament saying, now go dominate Google.